I pushed open the front door expecting the smell of leftover pizza and the sound of the TV. Instead, my living room looked like a damn pep rally. 6 people were crammed in, her bowling league captain, vice captain, that smug coach of hers, and a few loudmouths I barely knew. They were all sitting in a half circle, eyes locked on me like I'd just walked into a courtroom. And there she was, Tara, standing dead center, arms crossed, chin tilted like she'd been waiting all night for her cue. "Well," she said, loud enough to carry over the murmur of fake coughs and chairs shuffling. "We're finally going to stop pretending." I just stood there, still holding my keys, trying to figure out what the hell I'd walked into. Pretending about what? That this works, she shot back, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "I'm done faking it. You've been checked out for months, and I'm not going to keep living like you're not even here." Her little audience nodded along in unison, like a jury that had already heard all the evidence. The vice captain even mumbled something about, "It's for the best." I wanted to ask how my supposed absence worked when I ran a shop 12 hours a day to help pay our rent, but I could see the setup clear as day. This wasn't a conversation, it was theater. She wanted witnesses. She wanted me cornered. I felt a slow grin crawl across my face, the kind that made her blink because she didn't see it coming. "You could have told me over breakfast," I said. "Would have saved you the trouble of booking a whole team meeting." The captain's eyes flicked to Tara, like he wasn't sure if he should laugh or keep scowling. Tara's smile faltered. "So that's all you've got to say?" "Pretty much," I said, tossing my keys in my palm. Message received. Loud and clear. I turned toward the door before anyone could line up their closing arguments. The coach muttered something under his breath, but I didn't care enough to catch it. My boots hit the hallway floor harder than I intended, but I wasn't about to give them the satisfaction of slowing down. No begging, no yelling, just me leaving them with their perfectly rehearsed little ambush hanging in the air. I walked out to my truck, fired up the engine, and didn't look back. The highway was quiet, just a few 18-wheelers dragging through the night. I didn't even bother figuring out where I was going until I saw a flickering red vacancy sign outside a 2-story roadside motel. The kind of place with peeling paint on the doors and ice machines that sounded like they were choking. Perfect. I parked, grabbed my overnight bag from the back seat, and paid cash at the front desk. The clerk didn't care enough to ask for more than my license. 5 minutes later, I was sitting on a bed that sagged toward the middle, my laptop balanced on my knees. I told myself I was just going to crash for the night, but my brain wouldn't shut up. So I pulled up the online banking portal for our joint account, figuring I'd at least check the bills. That's when the numbers started jumping out at me. 3 nights at a coastal resort I'd never even heard of, listed as League Retreat. A string of high-end restaurants in different towns, all tagged under team dinners. 2 separate spa charges for over $200 each, all in the last 4 months. She'd been telling me they were saving for a new ball and lane fees. Instead, she was living it up on our dime. I scrolled further back. More trips, more dinners. Hell, one receipt showed a bottle of wine that cost more than my monthly truck payment. My jaw tightened, and I had to stop myself from slamming the laptop shut. The phone lit up on the nightstand, Tara's name. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, another call, then another. After the 5th one, the buzzing stopped, replaced by a string of texts. "We need to talk. This isn't how adults handle things. Don't make this worse." I stared at the screen until the next one came through. "Can we talk like adults?" I thumbed out a reply. "We already talked. You made your position clear, in front of witnesses." I hit send and went back to the bank statements. The truth was, I'd been smart about one thing from the start, my business account. All the shop's money ran through that, completely separate. She didn't have access, couldn't touch it. That thought cooled me down enough to start thinking past the sting of the ambush. She wanted to humiliate me in my own living room, fine. But draining our account under false pretenses? That was something I could use. I opened a spreadsheet and started pulling every suspicious charge from the past year. Restaurant names, hotel stays, travel costs, even the league equipment purchases from a sporting goods store in another state. Each line I filled in made things a little clearer. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a pattern. The phone buzzed again. This time it was just one line from her. "Can we fix this?" I typed back without thinking. "Not my job to fix what you broke." After that, I silenced the phone completely. I didn't need her voice getting in my head. What I needed was proof, and I had plenty of it piling up on my screen. By the time I shut the laptop, I'd already decided my next step wouldn't be some tearful conversation. It would be legal. By morning, I had a folder stuffed with printouts from the motel's front desk printer and a pounding headache from too much bad coffee. I wasn't wasting time guessing my next move. I drove straight into town and parked outside a brick office building where a gold-lettered sign read, Rhonda Keller, attorney at law. I'd heard her name from another shop owner who'd gone through a nasty split. Said she was quick, brutal, and worth every penny. Inside, her office smelled like fresh coffee and paper. She didn't waste time on small talk. You're the mechanic on Main, right? Have a seat. Tell me why you're here. I laid it out in order. Last night, I walk into my own living room and find my girlfriend and her bowling team sitting there like a jury. She announces we're done because I'm emotionally absent. They all nod like they've been rehearsing it for weeks. Rhonda leaned back in her chair, eyebrows raised. Public humiliation in front of an audience. That's not accidental. Yeah, I said, sliding the folder across her desk. Then I check our joint account and find out she's been using it for trips and fancy dinners. Calls them league expenses. But it's the same names and places over and over. Coastal resort, high-end restaurants, spa charges. None of it for me. She started flipping through the printouts, her nails tapping the paper. You kept your business account separate? Always, I said. She's never touched it. Good. She's trying to control the narrative, Rhonda said flatly. The public breakup was her way of painting you as the neglectful partner before you could open your mouth. When someone does that, they're usually hiding something worse. I leaned forward. So what do we do? First, we file paperwork to formally separate finances. Today. Then we secure your assets, apartment, business, anything she could claim. After that, we dig into her spending trail. You've already started, but I'll subpoena records if needed. She pushed the folder back toward me. Do not, under any circumstances, confront her emotionally. She's baiting you to say or do something that fits her version of the story. I sat back. She's already trying to talk. Last night it was, let's be adults and can we fix this? That's because she wants control of the timeline, Rhonda said. She's testing whether she still has leverage over you. Don't give her an inch. If she senses you're moving legally, she might escalate. And if she has a backup plan, say, a new guy or some manufactured claim, you need to be prepared. The phrase backup plan stuck in my head like a bad song lyric. It made too much sense. Tara wouldn't have staged a scene like that unless she thought she could win whatever came next. Rhonda gathered a few forms and slid them across the desk. Sign here, here, and here. I'll handle the filings. You keep gathering evidence. Every dollar that left that account under false pretenses is ammunition. I signed, my pen cutting fast across the paper. When I walked out, the sun was hitting the side of the building, but it didn't feel warm. My gut told me Rhonda was right. Tara wasn't done. And whatever she had in her pocket, I'd better be ready when she played it. I'd barely made it back to the shop when my phone lit up with a number I recognized. Tara's sister, Kelsey. I thought about letting it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. The second I answered, her voice came in hot. Why are you ignoring her? She's been trying to reach you for 2 days. I leaned against my workbench. Because she ended the relationship. In front of half her bowling league. I'm just respecting what she said. That's not what she meant, Kelsey shot back. She thought you'd. I don't know. Fight for her. I actually laughed. Fight for her. After that stunt, she made a public announcement. You don't get to humiliate someone and then expect them to beg for a second chance. Kelsey went quiet for a second, then sighed. Look, I'm not saying it was smart. But she told me the whole point was to push you into proving you cared. She figured you'd show up with flowers or something. She's 28, not 15, I said. If she needs a public shaming to figure out I care, then she's not looking for love. She's looking for control. You don't understand? She's upset. No, I cut in. You don't understand. Love isn't begging for basic respect. If she couldn't sit across from me and be honest without dragging in an audience, that tells me everything I need to know. Kelsey's tone softened, but not enough to matter. She's just scared you'll never talk to her again. That's not fear. That's regret that her little performance didn't land the way she wanted. There was another pause. I could almost hear her deciding whether to push it or back off. Finally, she muttered, I just thought you two had more than this. We did. Until she made it something else. I pulled the phone away before she could start another round and ended the call. I slid the phone into my pocket and grabbed a rag to wipe my hands. Even though they weren't dirty, my chest felt lighter than it had in days. I wasn't mad anymore, just certain. Walking away without giving her a scene was the smartest thing I'd ever done. I headed to the apartment after closing up the shop, a couple of boxes in the back of my truck for clothes, tools, and whatever else I wanted gone before the next round of legal steps kicked in. When I reached the door, Tara was already there, like she'd been listening for my boots on the hallway floor. She stepped into the frame, arms braced against it. "You can't just take off with your stuff like this," she said. "I'm not here to argue. I'm here to pack." She shifted to block me again. "I didn't mean what I said that night. You know that, right?" I was frustrated. "I wanted to get your attention." I stared at her for a long second, then pushed past. "Congratulations. You got it." The bedroom smelled like her perfume, too sweet and sharp at the same time. I started yanking my shirts off hangers and folding them into the box. She followed me in. "Can you at least listen before you decide to?" "No." I cut her off, dropping another stack of clothes into the box. "You listened to your little jury that night. Now you can listen to me." I reached into my jacket and pulled out the folder from my meeting with Rhonda. I tossed it on the bed. "Resort trip for nights. Same week you told me the league was doing a tournament 2 towns over. Funny thing is, your coach booked the same hotel." She froze. "That's not what you think. Spa treatments, dinners that cost more than my rent, hotel rooms in different cities, all paid for from our joint account." I started pulling pages out one by one, letting them fall on the comforter between us. "Months of it. You called them league expenses. Want me to guess who else was on those trips?" Her voice cracked. "It wasn't. Don't lie. You've been with him for a while. This isn't a one-off. It's a pattern." She sat down hard on the edge of the bed, staring at the receipts like they were on fire. "Please, don't tell them. The team. They don't need to know." I kept packing. "They already know what you wanted them to know, that I was some checked-out boyfriend who didn't care. You made sure of it in my living room." "This will ruin me," she whispered. I stopped folding a pair of jeans and looked right at her. "The public ending was your choice. You wanted an audience. Don't be shocked if the truth gets one too." She reached for my arm. "I can fix this. We can say it was all a misunderstanding." I stepped back, her hand slipping off my sleeve. "We're past misunderstandings. You made your call. Now I'm making mine." I closed the last box, carried it to the door, and didn't turn around when she called my name. Her voice followed me down the hall, smaller and more desperate with every step, but it didn't change a damn thing. The box hit the truck bed with a solid thud, and I drove off without looking up at the apartment windows. The next morning, I was back in Rhonda Keller's office, dropping the box of paperwork on her desk with a weighty thump. "More?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Every receipt, every bank statement I could dig up," I said. "It's all in there. Resort stays, dinners, spa treatments, most of them with the coach's name popping up somewhere on the bill." Rhonda slid the box closer and started flipping through the top stack. "Joint account." "Yeah," I said. "All of it came out of the shared account. My shop account is clean. She never touched that." "That's good," Rhonda said, pulling a legal pad toward her. "Because what you've just handed me is textbook misconduct. Using joint funds to bankroll an affair? Courts love cases this clean. There's intent, there's a pattern, and there's proof." I sat down. "So what's next?" She tapped her pen against the pad. "We've got 2 tracks. 1. File to recover funds and protect your assets. 2. Control the narrative. Right now, she thinks she owns the story. We change that." I leaned forward. "How?" "She brought her team into this mess," Rhonda said. "We invite them back in. Not to gossip, but to clear the record. I'll call a meeting here in my conference room. Invite the league's captain, vice captain, and maybe the coach if you want him to squirm. We lay out the receipts in front of them, calmly, professionally." My jaw tightened. "They'll see exactly where their league money didn't go." "Exactly," Rhonda said. "They'll see she dragged them into humiliating you to cover her own tracks. You don't have to raise your voice or call her names. The evidence does the damage." I thought about Tara's face when she saw those printouts on our bed. The way she crumbled the second the audience wasn't on her side. "I'm in." "When?" "I can get them in here by the end of the week," Rhonda said, already scribbling dates on her pad. "One thing, though, you don't engage her between now and then. No texts, no calls, no side conversations. If she tries to bait you, let her think you're ignoring her. It'll make this hit harder. Not a problem, I said. She's already burned that bridge. Rhonda gave a thin smile. Good. Because once they see the truth, you won't just have legal ground. You'll have taken her platform away. I left her office knowing exactly what the next few days were about. Gathering the people she thought were her safety net and showing them the whole, ugly picture. By Friday afternoon, Rhonda's conference room looked like it was set for a corporate ambush. Long table, stacks of documents at every seat, coffee in the corner no one touched. I sat at one end, Rhonda beside me, both of us facing the door. The first to arrive were the league captain and vice captain, both giving me that tight, polite smile you give someone you're not sure you should be alone with. Then came two other members, shifting awkwardly, followed by the coach, who walked in like he owned the place. Tara came last, glancing around like she'd stumbled into the wrong meeting. What is this? She asked, standing in the doorway. Sit, Rhonda said evenly. We're here to clear the record. Tara slid into a chair 2 seats away from me. The captain sat directly across, arms crossed. Rhonda didn't waste time. Over the past 12 months, significant withdrawals have been made from my client's joint bank account. These transactions were labeled as league-related expenses. However, she started sliding copies of receipts down the table. The reality is different. The first page was a resort bill, 4 nights, coastal view, 2 guests. The captain's eyes narrowed. The next was a series of dinner receipts, each over $200, all signed by Tara. Then came spa treatments, hotel rooms in cities far from any tournament schedule. The vice captain frowned. These weren't league expenses. Rhonda nodded. Correct. They were personal trips, many overlapping with documented appearances by your coach here. She slid the next stack toward the captain, side-by-side records of hotel bookings in the same cities, same dates. The captain turned to Tara. You told us he was neglecting you. You made us sit in his living room while you dumped him. And all this time, he tapped the receipts hard. You were using league money for this? It wasn't league money, Tara said quickly, her voice rising. It was ours, his and mine. That's not the point, the captain cut in. You dragged us into humiliating him to cover up an affair with the coach. The coach shifted in his seat. This is getting blown way out of proportion. Rhonda's voice sliced through. What's not in proportion is the misuse of joint funds for personal gain. We will be seeking full restitution for the amounts taken, including any tied to fraudulent labeling as league expenses. The documentation is airtight. One of the quieter members finally spoke. Tara, you made us believe we were backing you up. We defended you, and you lied. Tara's face flushed red. You don't understand. I understand you made me look like a fool, the captain snapped. You made all of us look like fools. Rhonda gathered the remaining documents into neat piles. We will proceed with filing next week. You are all here because your names were linked to some of these charges. I suggest you distance yourselves accordingly. The vice captain shook his head, muttering, Unbelievable, before pushing his chair back. Tara tried to catch my eye, but I didn't give her the satisfaction. The noise in the room turned to scattered shuffling of papers, chairs scraping back, and no one looking at her directly. When it was over, I stood and walked out without a word. By the time I hit the parking lot, I didn't need to see her face to know her reputation had just collapsed by her own hand. 3 days after the meeting, I walked into the motel lobby to grab a coffee before heading to the shop. I barely made it through the front door before Tara stepped out from behind a fake potted plant like she'd been lying in wait. We need to talk, she said, moving to block my path. I didn't slow down. No, we don't. She followed me to the coffee station. Please. I'll end it with him. I'll pay back every penny. Whatever it takes to fix this. I filled a cup, lid snapped on tight. You can't fix something you destroyed on purpose. Her voice cracked. I wasn't thinking. I turned to face her. You were thinking just fine. You wanted me to be the villain so you could play the victim. You made sure there was an audience for your little speech in my living room. The problem is, the truth came out, and it doesn't match your script. She shook her head fast. My teammates hate me. My family won't even pick up the phone. I'm getting messages I can't even read without crying. That's not my doing, I said. That's the consequence of your own choices. You don't get to burn a bridge and blame the smoke on someone else. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like we were in some private moment. I miss you. I miss us. I backed up enough to keep space between us. No, you miss having control. You miss thinking you could make me jump through hoops to prove something I never stopped doing, showing up. But you didn't want showing up. You wanted a scene. Her lip trembled. I thought if I pushed you, you'd beg? No. I took a step toward the door. If begging is the requirement, then whatever we had wasn't worth saving. She reached for my arm, but I pulled it free. The lobby clerk was pretending to sort pamphlets, but his eyes kept darting our way. Please, she said again, voice dropping to a whisper. Don't let it end like this. It already ended, I told her. You just don't like the ending you got. I walked out with my coffee, leaving her standing in the middle of the lobby with nothing else to say. 3 months later, I was sitting in Rhonda's office again. Only this time the stack of papers in front of me was the last set I'd have to sign. She slid the final page over. That's it. You get the apartment, restitution for the account withdrawals, and she covers your legal fees. Judge signed off this morning. I signed, set the pen down, and felt something I hadn't in a while, quiet. No weight pressing on my chest, no voice in my head replaying old arguments. Just done. On the drive back to the shop, my phone buzzed with a text from one of the league guys I barely knew. You hear? She's out as captain. Coach dropped her too. I didn't reply, but it didn't surprise me. People who build their image on control can't handle it when the spotlight swings the other way. Without the league position or the coach propping her up, she had nothing left to hide behind. Later that night, I heard from Kelsey for the first time since our last call. Her text was short. I'm sorry. I believed her. I shouldn't have. I typed back. Neglect and cheating aren't the same thing. You were defending the wrong one. She sent another. Do you still care about her? I stared at the screen for a second before typing. No? Not even a little. That was the truth. Whatever I'd felt before had burned out completely, not in a burst of anger, but in the slow, steady way a fire dies when there's nothing left to feed it. I put the phone down, turned off the shop lights, and locked up for the night. The chapter was closed, and I had no interest in reopening it. 6 months later, I was standing in the bread aisle at Martin's Market, trying to decide between rye and sourdough, when I heard my name. I turned and saw Tara holding a basket, looking smaller somehow, hair pulled back in a way I'd never seen before. Hey, she said softly. How have you been? I reached for the sourdough. Busy. She shifted her basket from one arm to the other. I've been working on myself. Therapy, mostly. Good for you. She gave a weak smile. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime, just to catch up. I shook my head. There's nothing left to talk about. You made your choices. Her smile dropped. I know. I'm sorry about the way I ended things. The whole public scene. I was scared you'd talk me into staying, and I didn't want to give you the chance. So you humiliated me instead. She winced. I thought it would make it easier. No, I said, sliding the loaf into my cart. You thought it would make it easier for you to justify leaving. You knew it was wrong, but you wanted someone else to blame for it. She stared at the floor. I've lost so much. That's not on me, I said. That's all you. I pushed my cart past her without looking back. By the time I hit the checkout line, it hit me. She was standing in a grocery store aisle trying to rewrite the ending, and I didn't have to let her. The best revenge had been letting the truth speak for itself and never giving her the power to tell my story again.